What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back. Wholesale Hard Knocks, episode 62, man. It's 62 straight weeks of us bringing value, game, sauce to the marketplace. We're here to just to help people out, right? Like me and Mike, we know as we climb this ladder of success, we cannot do it alone. So we like to, as we get up, climb up a couple stairs, turn around, bring some people with us. Climb up a couple stairs, bring some people with us, and that's why we
Hmm.
do this, right? Like that's why we have been going 62 weeks straight of this wholesale hard knocks. I got my brother V Mike Gomes with me. Mike, how's it going, bro?
62 weeks.
Dang, yo.
Yo, can y'all give us some love? Dang, 62 weeks of just free sauce. Can y'all like screenshot this and put it on your social medias? Like, let's get this thing cranking, bro.
Bro, you got to cue the applause, bro. You got an applause right there in that sound machine?
Nah, because this is how I'm feeling.
SpongeBob.
No. But for real, like screenshot this, send it to your homies. Let's get wholesale hard knocks popping right now. Like let's stop playing, man. It's time for wholesale hard knocks to stop playing.
Let's get
Like
it.
there should be 100 people viewing this minimum per episode, on live.
For real. For real.
Anyway,
Yo, so Mike, what we got to talk about today, bro?
we got some sauce for y'all. We're talking about direct to seller wholesaling, the best way to wholesale, by the way, in my opinion.
Why?
People might tell me different. Let's dig into that, bro. People might tell me different that direct to seller wholesaling is not the best way to go. But in my opinion, if you're going directly to the seller and you are the person in charge of getting the contract, you are the person in charge of doing your own marketing, you are the person in charge of pretty much everything from the start of the transaction, you have the most control. And I like to say that I don't have a control issue, but I would like control in my business.
I don't like to say I don't have a control issue, but I kind of got a control issue.
No, well, here's the thing. It comes to certain things in my life, bro. Like if I want control in my business, that's an important thing to have control of. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure. For sure.
So direct to seller wholesaling is the strategy in wholesaling that is the most controllable, the most measurable, the most scalable, and the thing that you're going to be able to scale yourself out of the quickest. Um, let's dig into that, right? Let's dig into what.
Oh,
First off, here's what I want to break down before we dig into it.
okay.
There's people will jump into the real estate world like myself. I remember this was like maybe 2019 or something like that. 2000, yeah, it's probably 2019. I take my realtor license exam, right? And I'm literally doing this thing online for probably about a week and a half. I get probably a quarter through the classes. Like you gotta pretty much fill up your time of watching all the classes, then you could take the test. And I got like a quarter of the way through, maybe.
Hold on,
And
you were
I'm
gonna be a realtor, bro?
yeah, for a week and a half. And I said, screw this. I'm reading all this stuff. I'm like, yo, I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to need to know some of the stuff that y'all are teaching me here. I'm just gonna go wholesale because this doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not doing this. Nor not trying to bash on any realtors or anything like that. But Daryl, could you imagine Mike showing a property like, hey, so here's the bathroom, here's the kitchen, there's new floors. Or could you imagine me dealing with a buyer saying, like me bringing a buyer into a property and being like, here's the kitchen, here's the bathroom. They're
Bro,
like,
it's hard for me to even imagine you in a suit right now.
well, hey, listen, I have a wedding coming up in about a month, and I picked up my suit this week, bruh. Your boy is gonna be looking good. like,
Okay.
like, bro, these suits are fire. You guys will see. It's gonna be a movie. My homie's getting married out in DR. It's gonna be great. Follow me on Instagram right here to watch the movie that's going down in about a month. But anyways, yeah, dude, like that too. It just wasn't for me. put it that way. Being a realtor wasn't for me. So I get a week and a half into getting my realtor's license, and I'm like, all right, screw this, and I just start trying to wholesale. And then everybody, if you're watching and you've been watching me for a little bit, you've probably heard on my YouTube channel a bunch of times my journey of wholesaling and what that looked like. But my whole entire path got directed to direct to seller wholesaling, right? And here's where I'm getting at. There's so many different things while I'm getting into real estate because I didn't really know. I knew that I kind of wanted to flip houses. I knew that I just wanted to do the investing thing. I just didn't really know like where to start and what to really tackle and go after. That's why I tried the realtor thing, tried it for a week and a half, didn't work, went to the next thing. The next thing ultimately was the business that I started creating and everything. I was thankful and I'm lucky that it happened that quick. It doesn't happen that quick for a lot of people. But I had a couple different options, right? Not a couple different options. I had so many different options, and that's what a lot of people's problem is in the beginning. I got lucky. I hit on my second option, right? But there's like I would say 4 different categories of things that you could do in real estate, right? There's wholesaling, okay, which is selling contracts and getting properties under contract and selling them, no matter we'll dig into all the strategies. So there's wholesaling, there's flipping and developing, okay, meaning like you're gonna fix and flip and renovate a property, or you're gonna build something from the ground up. And then there's holding on to properties long term. This is single family, multifamily, all the things. And then there's the last category I talk about, which probably should have been first, but this is the services. This is like being a realtor. This is like being an attorney. This is like being a notary, being whatever, all these services that are involved in real estate. There's that category too. I went with the last category in the beginning and I realized a week and a half, not for me, I'm going to go with the first category. So out of all 4 of those categories, one, you have to pick one to begin and really start hammering. And then out of all 4, there's so many different strategies that you can go after in all 4. So let's think about it. For the services, you can be a realtor, you could be a notary, you could be an attorney, you could have a title company, you could do all these different things. Those are all the services. For multifamily and single families, you could do short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, long-term rentals, all the different types of strategies, right? Nurses, traveling doctors, all the things, okay? Fix and flips and development. You could do single family, just residential fix and flips. You could do just very cosmetic fix and flips. You could do full guts. You could do ground up renovations. You could do condo conversions. You could do all these different types of things, right? Those are all different strategies. Wholesaling. Now we're finally getting somewhere, okay? With wholesaling, you could do so many different things as well. Most people think when they think of wholesaling, they think about just going out, locking up a contract with a seller, and then going to find a buyer. No, there's so many different strategies to do. Well, there's so many different things that go along with that transaction, right? So picking one strategy out of the wholesaling part of this whole entire tree is what's going to get you success when you get dialed into it. So, Daryll, go over some of the strategies for wholesaling, and then we'll dig into why direct to seller is the best strategy.
Like the marketing strategies.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different ways, and it all depends on really your budget, right? Your budget and how fast you want to move, right? So there's a bunch of different ways to generate leads to motivated sellers. So we have cold calling, right? We have pay per click. We have so pay per click is when people actually reach out to you. So let's actually break them down between
Well,
inbound.
here's actually before we even get into that, those are like the categories into direct to seller. I'm saying like, what are the categories in wholesaling itself? Like you have direct to seller, meaning we're going out directly to a seller. Then you have going out directly to an agent, right? And then you have going out directly to buyers and being the dispo person. Like you have all these different types of hats that you could wear in the wholesale transaction. You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
And if you think about that, if you're the guy that's going out and finding the buyer, then cool, you're the dispo guy. You're the guy in town that everybody knows has all the buyers. Literally me, I don't dispo at all. Daryll knows this. Daryll has done some dispo for me. I don't dispo at all. I literally just go out, lock up contracts all day. My team just talks to sellers all day, locks up contracts. Once we get one locked up, I send it over to somebody who focuses their attention on talking to buyers. So there's the people that talk to the buyers that just do dispo. There's people that just talk to realtors. There's people that just go on market for their deals. There's people that go directly to the seller. There's all these different types of categories of what you could be doing for wholesaling. So now that we have that understanding, Daryll, go into the strategies of direct to seller, and then we can dig into what we use and how to scale it and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so there's like I was saying, there's a bunch of different strategies for direct to seller. Um, we can cold call, right? Everybody knows cold calling. So we can break them down with inbound leads and outbound leads, right? So let me see. Well, actually, let's see what our engagement's like in the chat. Who do you think is more motivated, an inbound lead or an outbound lead? So an inbound lead is somebody who reaches out to us and says, "Hey, I want to sell this property." Right? Outbound lead is somebody who we call them directly, and we call them out the blue, like Brent Daniels says, we call them out the blue, and we try to see if they'd be interested in selling their property. Right? So Demola, exactly. Inbound leads. Inbound leads are way more motivated because they literally search and they look for you. They're looking for you, and they actually want to sell their house. Right? So inbound lead generation tech methods that we have pay per click, right? PPC, you may have heard it. That's when somebody searches in Google how to sell my house fast or sell my house cash, sell my house fast in Arizona, right? If you search it right now, if you search how to sell my house fast on Google and all these people, all these home buyers pop up, those are not actual people that are buying houses. Those are not buyers. Those are actual wholesalers. And I guarantee you, if you call them right now and you ask them if they want a JV, they will probably say yes, right?
You know what's funny? I did that today. First time I've ever done that with like a property that's not even in my market. I called probably like 5 different people. I literally typed in the city that we were looking at. We buy houses in the city for cash. Okay. And I talked to about 5 different wholesalers. The first like 3 that I contacted, I only got in touch with VAs, right? And I didn't get anywhere. Nobody ever called me back or anything like that. The 4th one that I talked to, lady couldn't really help me out. It sounded like she just had a nationwide like reach for inbound leads. That's what it sounded like. It didn't really sound like she was a buyer in the area or a wholesaler in the area. Bro, the 5th person that I called was like the most badass dispo wholesaler in that city. Not even just in that area in the market, but literally in the city. His partner grew up in the city where we had the contract.
Oh, nice.
And then
Where was it?
We made a connection with that person.
Where was it? Connect me, Doug.
It was the Mississippi deal.
Okay.
Hernando. Literally, so bro, the partner on the deal the company that I called, there's 2 guys. The partner grew up in that city. This guy that I was talking to, his father, well, so what he says, we ended up on conversation. We're having like a 30-minute conversation. He ended up explaining to me that he learned from Pace. I mean, Pace learned from his pops. His pops is like a very OG creative finance guy. Now, I'm not going to go out here and say that that's what Pace did. I don't know. Guy might have been just chatting. I don't know. But the guy claimed, he was like, yeah, my pops used to take Pace on seller appointments and everything like that. Granted, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm actually going to ask Pace if that's true. But
what was the guy's name?
Freaking dang it. I have his name. Johnson was the last name.
Shoot, maybe.
No, to be honest, bro, it sounded like a name that I've heard before. So I was like, maybe that is true. But anyways, just by calling wholesalers, like typically they aren't really getting calls from wholesalers, but they're generating leads through an ad. Like it was an ad that I saw. Hey, we buy houses in Hernando, Mississippi. And I clicked on it. I called the number and I ended up talking to the owner of the company and where I'm now plugged in. Right. Typically that call that he's getting is from a motivated seller, not a wholesaler. He probably gets a decent amount of calls from wholesalers too. But yeah, that's one good way of generating leads. So inbound versus outbound. Here's what I was teaching the Blueprint community the other week. I was saying that there's 3 different categories of of generating leads for the direct to seller. There's your free lead generation. This is typically these aren't really inbound. These are like going out and doing door knocking, cold calling on your own, doing all this different type of stuff. There's the medium ticket type of lead generation. This is going to cost you probably between like maybe $1,000 to $5,000 a month, depending on how you scale it. This is usually just cold calling and texting with VAs, right? Or it could be direct mail or whatever. And then there's your high ticket. Your high ticket is things like PPC and radio and all the hot leads that you get like quick. Like, let's think about this lead that I was just talking about in Mississippi. That's a hot lead for this guy, right? Like that thing is actually that's hotter than a motivated seller lead because we're like 3 weeks out from close. So homeboy could get paid in literally 3 weeks. Now, typically when we go out and we're marketing to a seller, even with an inbound type of strategy, it's going to take a couple weeks for the follow-up. We're going to have to get it under contract, go out, shop it to the buyers. It's like probably a 6 to 8 week turnaround. Okay. This guy literally just got an inbound call and he's going to get a deal in 3 weeks. He's going to get paid in 3 weeks. That's pretty crazy. But the high ticket items are things like PPC, radio, and all that type of stuff. Here's what I recommend. If you are very skillful and you have built up a skill set in the sales world of being a master closer, then I would recommend you're probably ready to go with your high ticket because they're the highest rate of conversions. They are the quickest. It's the quickest way to scale. You don't have to grow out a big lead generation department team. You can literally just press a button and you're going to get leads with your money. Like, it's fairly simple. If you are very skilled, I would say do that. If you don't really have any money at all, then I would say you're probably in a situation where you need to go cold call and do door knocking and all those types of strategies on your own and generate leads yourself, right? Which I don't recommend being. I highly recommend just trying to save up as much money as possible to be in the medium ticket lead generation, because the medium ticket lead generation is, especially for a lot of people that are watching, most of the people that are watching are like just getting into it. They're building their businesses and stuff like that. This is where you build your skill. Now, remember the first one that I was talking about, the high ticket, if you do not have a skill set, and I learned this the hard way, if you do not have a skill set and you aren't like a bona fide closer and you aren't so confident that like, hey, if I go on an appointment, I am the one getting that deal no matter what, then you're going to end up wasting money. Probably the first like 2 months of me into wholesaling, I was doing PPC. I was doing PPC actually for a different business. I had a junk removal business, like the 1-800-GOT-JUNK businesses. I had one of those I was doing PPC for. And then we just switched it over to wholesaling once I got rid of that business. And we started generating these PPC leads. I went on my first seller appointment ever. I'll never forget. It's probably about 20 minutes from my office. And I go there and there's another investor on the deal working the lead against us, essentially. I wish I knew squatting up and I wish I was well-versed, because I'm going to tell you guys a story after I tell this, but if I was well-versed in business and just like building relationships and squatting up together, we would have just squatted up on the lead together and split it. Instead, I tried beating this guy out and I just didn't know what the heck I was doing, and I didn't get the deal and he got the deal. I looked like 5 months later, I saw that his name was on the deed. His company was on the deed. I was like, dang, this guy got me. And I was discouraged. I'm like, this wholesaling thing does not work. But those leads are super expensive. That lead probably cost me like $300 just for that one lead. It takes a lot of money to get those PPC leads in the door. What I was saying about the like squatting up and stuff together. What I do now, I went on an appointment last week. Okay, go on this appointment and I'm working the lead and I'm talking to this lead. Come to find out, there's a couple other investors that are working the deal too. And as I'm having a conversation with her, I start to realize, I didn't ask her like specifically who it was, but I start to realize who the wholesaler working the lead was. So I'm just like, all right, cool. Here's what we're going to do. Da, 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 da. Let her know exactly how our process works and what we were willing to offer and stuff like that. And then I called the wholesaler after that I knew she was working with, and we ended up just working the lead together. Now we're all splitting it, and we got the deal done. We actually got that deal signed today. Now, instead of us having to work against each other, we're just squatting up on the deal together and getting it done. So that's what this is all about. If you guys are in here in Wholesale Hardknocks, I would highly recommend being in the comments, talking to each other, squatting up together, like get each other's Instagram handles. Go put your Instagram handle in the chats and everything like this. Do things like this. If you guys have if you guys are in Zooms, if you guys are even on your handles and on YouTube, like put your handles. You see here, like this is branding. You gotta brand yourself. Put your Instagram name and all that type of stuff on your stuff so you can connect and squat up. Because I learned the hard way in the beginning. The same partner that I'm dealing with on that deal that we're squatting up together with, I missed out on a deal before, probably like 2 years ago. Didn't get the thing under contract. I look 5 months later, see it on Facebook, and this wholesaler that I'm working with on the lead that I was just talking about now, they listed it and sold it for like $40,000 over what I ever thought that it would sell for. And they made $40,000 on the deal. I made zero. I would much rather squat it up on the deal and just both made 20 grand. Okay, so squat up while you guys are in these comments, hang out together, do all the things. Looks like Daryll got caught in the matrix. Let's see if he gave me a text. Hopefully Daryll is coming back. Okay. So to dig into it, I actually have some really good stuff on this. It's a really good opinion that most people do not have when it comes to this. So now that we have broken all that down, it took a while to get here. We have 20 minutes in. Finally, we have broken down why, in my opinion, after we went over all the strategies, but not why, but we got into what my favorite strategy is for people that are just starting out or have started out for the past like 6 months and are gaining traction and they're building their business and everything. I would highly recommend, for one, direct to seller, because it's the most scalable. It's the thing that's the most measurable. It's the thing, what I mean by measurable, it's like, hey, I know if I put this amount of money and work in, I'm going to see this amount of return. It's very hard to do that with something like direct to agent, or when you are the dispo wholesaler that are just talking to all the buyers, because you're not really putting money in, for one, but for two, it's based off of the relationship and you're basing it off of somebody else, right? You're basing it off of the realtor and their business and them going out and finding deals and hustling, or the buyers and what they want to buy and all that stuff, or the host. If you're the dispo wholesaler, the other direct to seller wholesalers going out and building their business, you're depending on somebody else. But direct to seller is like, hey, if we're not getting contracts this week, that's my fault. And we got to pull back the curtains and we got to figure out what the heck is going on. That's what I mean by scalable. So scalable means like, hey, we're able to pull back the curtains and look at the KPIs and look at all the numbers and pull the levers and see exactly what's going on in this business. So we can pour the gas here or turn the knob here or hire this person in this position or get this person out of there, or whatever the case is. It's much easier to scale and pull yourself out of, right? Because of that, you're able to pull yourself out of, get behind the curtain. That way you can pull it back and see what the heck is going on. That's why direct to seller is the best, in my opinion. Now that we have that, so we're all on the same page. Direct to seller is my favorite. I'm not saying it's the only way to get deals. I'm not saying you're not going to make as much money, doing something else. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, in my opinion, for what my personality type is about. My personality type is like, hey, I want to scale myself out of the business and get on to the next one. I don't want to be in the weeds of my wholesale business. I don't want to have to be building relationships with realtors for the rest of my life to depend on wholesale deals. I just want to hire a team. I want to scale it. I want to only be able to have to work in it maybe an hour or two a day so that I can go spend time on other businesses and stuff like that. That's just what I want. Some people are different. Some people are like, yo, I just want to go hang out with the realtors in town and do deals, and that's it. And that's completely fine. Okay. But that's just what I want. Okay. So I would say direct to seller is the most scalable, measurable, and the easiest thing to get yourself out of so that you don't have to work every single day. Okay. Now, here's what I want to get into. Direct to it's so funny that we're on this topic because I was thinking about it this week. I'm like, so many people on Instagram and YouTube and all the people teaching wholesaling and teaching real estate, they got all their flashy cars and they got all their flashy this, that, and planes and all this type of stuff. They're flying private jets and all this stuff. And they're like preaching to people, hey, you need to get rich wholesaling real estate. And I'm like, no, you don't. And that's like that sounds miserable to me. This is gonna sound crazy, but it sounds miserable to me to get rich off of wholesaling real estate, especially doing something like direct to seller, because it's tiring. When you get a deal that comes in the pipeline or you get a check that comes in the pipeline in wholesaling real estate, one, it took a lot of work. There's a lot of moving parts to go out and make that check. And here's the deal. Right when you get this check, you got to go back and do the whole entire process over again to get another check. And it's just a rinse and repeat thing. You got to keep them coming in. You got to keep them coming in. So if you're trying to get rich off of wholesaling real estate, you got to be doing a lot of volume. So there's people out here that preach, yo, you can make $250,000 a month to $500,000 a month to $1 million a month wholesaling real estate. You definitely can. And I know people that are doing that. But yo, that's like, in my opinion, that is hell. Managing all those salespeople, having all that turnover, managing all that data, all that hustle after hustle after hustle after hustle. I'm like, yo, that sounds so tiring to me. I'm good. I don't want to do that. Screw that. Here's the good news. In my opinion, the like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The nice sweet spot. Ooh, that's what I was looking for. The sweet spot in wholesaling is somewhere between $50,000 a month to $150,000 a month. Once you hit like over 100, that's when you start getting really stressed out. That's when you have a decent amount of salespeople on your team and you're managing a lot and a lot of transactions are going on, meaning a lot of fires are having to be put out in these transactions. Title is going crazy on this one deal. Buyers are backing out on this deal, doing all the things. Like a lot of stuff goes on. It's not just going out, locking up contracts, and that's it. Like I have a deal right now that we're working. It's a probate lead. And we've been going back and forth with the seller, with the dispo wholesaler, with the buyer, with the attorney. Like we're spending more time on the back end of the transaction than we are actually locking up the deal and doing the thing. So it's a lot of management. But here's the good news. If you're in this sweet spot of like 50, I'm going to say 150K because that's like getting aggressive, but really where you want to be is somewhere between like $50,000 and $100,000 a month. This is very realistic, by the way. This is like a very realistic goal. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's simple. And there's very simple blueprints that you could just follow to be somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 a month and not have to work in your business and not have to be pulling your freaking hair out and be able to scale out and only have to work like an hour or two a month. I mean, hour or two a day, pretty much. Like for me, that's pretty much the sweet spot that we're in, somewhere around there every single month consistently. And I'm only having to be on the actual wholesale business, working in it, not on it, working in it about an hour or two a day. And it took me longer than it should have. Like this could literally take you 6 to 12 months to scale yourself out of if you're really hammering and building a skill set. Okay. So that sweet spot of like of 50 to $100,000 in revenue a month. Let's break that down, right? Somewhere between 50 and 100K a month. You should be able to live off that. If you can't live off that, then you are freaking eating, Ruth Chris, and you're getting pedicures every day and you're doing all the things. You're probably not even working if your living expenses are more than that. So $50,000 to $100,000 should allow you to comfortably live. Okay. But here's what's going to happen. Remember, I said you don't want to like focus all your time and energy on getting super rich with wholesaling because you can get super rich taking yourself out of wholesale and then utilizing the wholesale business to go do other things to get rich. Because if you're spending all your time trying to get rich in this wholesale business, you literally are just putting yourself in like a high paid job, and it's almost like a prison. So what you want to do is be in this sweet spot between like 150. I keep saying 150, between 50 and 100K, so that you only have to work in the business 1 to 2 hours a day and spend all your time and energy in other places that are much easier. Because wholesaling is not, I will say, I think I said this before, it's simple, but it's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. You got to keep following up. You got to, once you follow up and you finally go on an appointment or you finally get a contract, you got to send it out to the attorneys. You got to send it out to title work and all these, you got to send it out to dispo, and all these other things happen. And it's not easy. You deal with a lot of BS. So if you're dealing with, like, let's think about this. If we do the math on it, right? Our average assignment fee is probably like 20 to 25,000. Let's just call it 25,000. Let's just say let's just say you were trying to get rich and you're trying to make a bunch of money, like all these people on Instagram and YouTube are talking about. And you want to make $250,000 a month in that. You're going to have to do like 10 deals a month. And that's not contracts a month. That's like deals going to the closing table and the deed transferring. You're going to have that. That means, like, in your wholesale pipeline, like on your whiteboard, you're going to have like over 20 contracts at a time, probably even more. That's a lot. That's a lot of hustling and bustling and, going out and following up and doing the thing, going out directly to sellers. Like, that is freaking tiring, in my opinion. I'm like, why not follow a blueprint that's somewhere between like 50 and 100K a month that you can live comfortably off of, pay your bills, do whatever you got to do, and then spend the rest of your time building your fix and flip business, building your portfolio, building your brand, doing all these things that are actually easier. I promise you. Once you build this wholesale business, it's like your heartbeat. If you can build a wholesale business that's making you like 50 to 100K a month, it ends up being your heartbeat, meaning you're going to be able to pay your bills. You have consistent deals coming in the door. You could start cherry picking some of the deals to put in your portfolio or fix and flip business. Like, it's literally your heartbeat that helps everything else out. So if you can get in that sweet spot of like 50 and 100K and scale yourself out of it, I didn't say scale yourself out of it, meaning like you only have to be in the business 1 or 2 hours a day, if that. Sometimes I'm going to be leaving for that wedding that I was talking to you guys about earlier for a whole entire week. And I guarantee we still get multiple contracts done. I guarantee we still do all the things. Obviously, the business operation is a little bit more smoother when I'm around and I'm helping out and I'm maybe hopping on the phone for one of my sales reps to, push the seller forward or whatever the case is. Obviously, we produce more. But now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really have to be there. It'll probably still operate. Okay. So that's the goal, so that you can go do these other things. As I promise, if you're focused on like getting super rich and making like $250,000 a month in your direct to seller business or in your wholesaling business in general, you are going to run into a lot of headaches. I'm telling you. And you guys are going to call me crazy. You guys are going to be like, Mike, maybe you just aren't as hungry as all these other people or whatever. No, I am telling you. It is a lot of management. It doesn't make any sense because these fix and flip businesses and I'm not saying all these other businesses are easy, because they're not, but they're much easier to manage and automate and build strategic partnerships around, because that's the goal. If you guys really want to, like, the real blueprint, right, is to build this business. It doesn't even have to be wholesaling. Wholesaling is great for all the other things because deals come from it. All these relationships with like attorneys and title companies, everything comes from the wholesale business. That's why I'm saying it's like your heartbeat. You get to build the whole entire career pretty much off of this heartbeat that you have built. Okay. And then you're able to go sit at all the other tables and build all these other businesses, which is great. But here's the deal. Once you have built this heartbeat, the next businesses, they aren't like starting from the ground up. Like you started your direct to seller wholesale business, like putting your freaking head through a wall. It's not like that. It's just strategic partnerships. That's it. because you have this heartbeat, and that heartbeat is valuable. That heartbeat brings money every single month. That heartbeat brings deals every single month and opportunities. That heartbeat has systems and processes and other partnerships around it that help those other businesses out, right? So you're able to literally have this heartbeat of a wholesale business generating you a decent lifestyle. It's not, you're not on private jets doing all the crazy things just yet, but that's cool because you're going to go have this heartbeat. And then after that, you're going to go build strategic relationships with other people that already have these businesses up. But because you have this wholesaling business running and consistently, like it's consistently beating, you bring value to all these other partners. Gosh, I hope y'all are listening right now because nobody else is telling you this. Everybody else is telling you you got to build a big wholesaling business and everything like that because they're trying to sell you on their freaking mentorship and they're trying to sell you on the lifestyle of being rich and having all these different things. That's really what's happening. If you really want to know, that's what everybody who's teaching wholesaling real estate and all these people on Instagram and funneling you into these programs and all the type of things, the majority of them are trying to sell you a lifestyle. And I'm telling you, if they're saying, hey, here's my Lamborghini, I got this Lamborghini wholesaling real estate. Yeah, they might have done that. And I'd probably say 75% of them might be capping, but they might have done that. And I promise you, if they went out and built a whole entire big sales department for wholesaling, that's getting them all these Lamborghinis and mansions and everything like that, their life is probably freaking miserable. If that's all they did, because that sounds super miserable coming from a guy who has built a wholesale business. Like that is a lot of freaking management when just easily you could just make a heartbeat. It's going to take you 6 to 12 months, maybe a little bit more. It took me a little bit more because I needed a little bit more time to be coached up and all that stuff. Is okay, but it's going to take you like 6 to 12 months to build your systems and processes, build your skill set, get good, get your heartbeat beating consistently. And then after you're in there for like, I would say probably over 12 months, somewhere around there, because you got to take time to build the skill set. That's the most important thing I keep saying. You've got to get good at in wholesaling, especially direct to seller. You got to get good at talking to sellers and build a process around that and build a team around talking to sellers and, give them the blueprint on how to actually go out and do that. So once you get there, it's like 12 months. You can then just go sit at all these other tables. Just can give me a freaking consistent 12 months on building a business. And I promise you, you will have a machine producing you contracts that you do not have to stay in all day. In the beginning, you are going to be hustling, especially if you don't have any money. If you don't have any money right now at the moment, there's no worries. Don't worry, because you're going to be able to go out, get a couple deals going, get some money in the door, and then use that money to scale out another business. Scale out your wholesale business, like your cold calling and texting business or your PPC business or whatever the case is. You're going to be able to do that once you get your first deal. So don't worry about it. If you don't have any money right now, you can go out and get a deal here in the next like 3 months. Use that money to then scale out your actual business. And it might take you a little bit longer. But the key factor is that I keep saying is that you build a skill, and that skill in direct to seller wholesaling is talking to sellers and getting better at sales. Once you do that, you then have a skill that nobody can take away from you. This is another freaking great thing about direct to seller. I think I took probably like 6 months. That's all I did. All I did was did everything I could possibly do to get better at talking to sellers. I'm talking about listening to other people's calls, doing role plays, doing call calibrations of my own, recording myself, listening to sales books, actually talking to sellers, like doing everything I possibly could for like 6 months. Got good at talking to sellers, and boom, I built a business around me getting good at talking to sellers. And then it took me, like I told you, it took me a little bit longer than most people. It doesn't have to take you this long, especially if you have a blueprint on how the heck to do it. But once you have scaled it and you scaled yourself out of it, then you simply just take all that time, energy, and money and go build partnerships with people who allow you to be the best version of yourself. Meaning, let's just say you have built this heartbeat, right? You're making money every single month. You're doing wholesale deals every single month. You're feeding your family. You have excess of money. You can, you have excess of deals. You have excess of opportunities. You have excess of relationships in the area, doing all the things, right? And now you run into a fix and flipper who is having a tough time finding deals, but you are the guy in town that everybody knows as the wholesaler, and you actually have a machine that is producing a lot of contracts, right? So not only do you have your machine producing you contracts, but you actually have other people in the marketplace that know you as the wholesaler that send contracts to you. So you're getting all these opportunities everywhere. This fix and flipper over here who has a badass fix and flip business, right? They have great contractors, they have great bookkeeping, they have great lending, or whatever the case is. They might even be the ones with the private money. You might not even have that yet. And we'll get into that maybe later. But they are the ones that have the systems and processes already built out. They've done 20 flips before. They know what the heck is going on. They're just sitting there like, dang, I'm dry. I haven't had a deal in like 3 months. Just go strategically partner up with somebody like that, because you already have everything all built up. And that's how you get rich with real estate. You build this consistent heartbeat that doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be like $1 million a month. It just has to be something that sustains your life, that produces opportunities consistently, that produces systems and processes around you scaling out of it, and also that produces relationships that come along with the business that allows you to then go partner up with people strategically to go do other things like doing fix and flips and building a portfolio and doing developments and all this type of stuff. Oh my gosh, man, we might have to delete this episode because that was some sauce. Throw some comments in the chat if y'all got some stuff from there, because it took me a while. I am not going to hold you. It took me a while to figure that out. And I was sitting here thinking that I had to build out this crazy big process where we were producing a bunch of contracts every single month, where I was, trying to make $1 million and just doing contracts a month. I'm telling you, it just doesn't make any sense. If you think I'm wilding, throw it in the chat. Also, if you're like, wow, something just like a light bulb just switched in my head, also throw that in the chat if you got some clarity from this. Or you might be like, Mike, you were wilding. I'm building $1 million wholesale business, $1 million a month wholesale business a month. I don't care what you say. Either way, whatever floats your boat. If you do need help and you're like, Mike, I like what you're talking about, like, this thing called scaling yourself out of this business that's just a heartbeat that consistently moves, shoot me a DM on IG and I'll help you out. All right, everybody. This was another episode of Wholesale Hardknocks, episode 62, direct to seller, my favorite freaking strategy in wholesaling real estate. We're going to catch y'all next week, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Eastern time is the only time that we go by. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.